to you live from Tennessee, from the east to the west. We are talking Cowboys everything. And you just entered
the Cowboy Zone.
Welcome back to another episode of the Cowboy Zone. I'm your host, Marcus Jones, the Bluff City Cowboy, coming to you live from Memphis, Tennessee. And we are here for the Cowboy Zone for our pregame show to tomorrow's matchup against the Las Vegas Raiders. Sorry, I almost said Oakland. Thank you, Jack Meeker. As always, appreciate you tuning in. I see the views are coming in pretty quickly, so everybody who's watching right now, make sure you get in the comments. Let me know that you're here. I see we got my guy Mendoza in the house. Thank you for joining. Mendoza, thank you for also checking up on me earlier to make sure that I would do the Cowboy Zone. Of course, you guys know, day before Thanksgiving, so it's a lot of hustle and bustle, trying to get ready for the festivities tomorrow. So I got my notes together, and I'm ready for another episode of the Cowboy Zone where we'll be breaking down all the key matchups from tomorrow's game with the Cowboys versus the Raiders. See, my guy Tavis in the house. Thank you for joining. As always, appreciate your support. See, I got one of my classmates tuning in, Raphael. Thank you for tuning in. Definitely appreciate you joining us. The Lunatic, thank you as always for joining. Just like you said, Oakland, LA, or Vegas, we beating the Raiders. Definitely right. We're going to do game predictions tonight, guys, so stick with us to the end. After we do our key matchups, we're going to do game predictions. And we couldn't get Lambo tonight, but we did get Cowboy Dale to drop a dime and give us his game prediction for tomorrow's game. So make sure you guys tune in to the end for that. And if you haven't done so already, make sure you like, make sure you share this, share it to your personal page, share it to your favorite page, and also make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel. You guys can find me at Bluff City Cowboys. So I didn't plan on doing a lot of talking about last week's game. If you guys want to put a topic in the comments, throw a question or a comment out there, we can go through it. As you guys know, I watched the game multiple times before I really try to give my assessment of what happens. When you watch the game the first time, and I'm sorry, guys, I got an event going tonight, so I may have to kind of check on my worker to make sure everything's going okay. Hopefully everything's going fine, so I won't have to stop too much. But as you guys know, when you're watching a game live, you're watching it for entertainment. Michael, I'm not going to try to pronounce the last name because I know I butcher it. If you can give me the phonetics in the comments, I'll try to pronounce it. But thank you for watching. Looks like a new name. So really appreciate your support. Jack Meeker talking about D-Law citing 21-day activation. That's definitely a good thing, Jack Meeker. We all kind of talked about having the New Orleans Saints game kind of circled as the game to watch to see him come back. So that 21-day window starting today kind of lets us know he's on pace for that Saints game, and we might see him a little bit sooner. So definitely a good thing to see D-Law out there and see him getting some work in before that. Raphael says the O-line, hope they show up because they were terrible. Definitely agree with you on that. It wasn't a good game. We talked about this last week before the game, actually. Myself and Charlie with Dallas Cowboys Uncensored. And we say this every week. That's kind of like the trigger word of the season. Continuity. When you're dealing with the offensive line, consistency and continuity are just as important as talent. So when you're dealing with a game like that and you have a new guy you just threw in at guard. Now, we don't know how many weeks he actually practiced with the first team at guard. I'm hoping and assuming it was for multiple weeks before they decided to make this change. And it wasn't just a snap reaction based off of some penalties that Connor Williams got the week before. But even if he was practicing for a couple of weeks, there was a change made. And Terrence Steele was thrown back in at left tackle. So for me, I would not have put him in that situation where you have a first-time left guard, because remember, when he's played, he's mostly played right guard as a replacement to Zach Martin. So you're putting a first-time left guard next to essentially a first-time left tackle, because that was Terrence Steele's second week of playing left tackle. And that's a recipe for disaster. That's not saying Connor Williams would have done any better, but when you make those kind of changes, you want to be as consistent as possible. And Mendoza, you talked about this right after the game. So great eye for you. I'm normally getting caught the special teams guy, but you caught this one immediately. Michael Parsons, I believe that was his first time playing punt team, and he got out there and almost got a block. So definitely a good wrinkle to throw out there. Look for some more stuff like that this coming week. And it was interesting, even more interesting, because he was playing double duty on defense. So not only did you have him playing linebacker and end, now you put him on special teams at a completely different position. So definitely a wrinkle that we love to see. Probably one of those signs of desperation that the team needed a spark, and they tried to put him out there to create that, because he created pretty much the whole game on defense. I see we got Sadiqa Charles joining us. Sadiqa, thank you for joining. As always, love to see you show up in the comments. I know you're going to bring some good comments, some good questions, and help keep the dialogue flowing. And the Lunatic asking a good question. Why do you think we don't run more to the edges? That's a good question. It could be a scheme thing. It could be Zeke. Maybe Zeke is not an edge runner. I know people hate it when you talk about anything negative with Zeke, but running backs like things a certain way. Go back to Keith Smith. Zeke's first 2 years, he had a fullback in front of him. Before you know it, they got rid of Keith Smith and brought in a receiving fullback. And the reason was Zeke did not like running behind a fullback. He preferred to run in a single backfield. Running behind a fullback seemed to be very effective. His first 2 seasons, he was arguably the best running back in football. So sometimes stuff can work, but it really comes down to preference of the players, or it could just be schematically. We've actually ran a lot more to the edges than years past. They've done a lot of 12 personnel where they put both tight ends on the same side. And usually when they do that, they normally do more edge running. So they have done it a little bit, but I agree, the Lunatic, they don't do it as much as they should. It also could be the fact that we've had a lot of inconsistency at the tackle position, and they're afraid to do that. And Tavis Banks saying, are we going to act like Kenyon Drake is not a problem as Miami and Arizona? That's definitely a good point. We're going to talk about that, because those are good points, and we're going to get into that when we go into key matchups. And Mendoza says, yeah, they do use Williams at fullback in those packages. They did throw Williams out there fullback a few times just to kind of mix things up. But like I said before, when Keith Smith was here, they ran almost primarily at least 40% I backfield with the fullback and a running back. All right, guys. So it's 10 minutes. I see the views are still climbing. So if you haven't done so already, be sure to get in the comments. Let me know that you're here, and also keep the questions and comments going. Nobody's really put any questions up about last week's game, but if you want to hit on that a little bit, we can. But if not, we'll move on to major storylines as we enter tomorrow's matchup.
Storylines.
All right, so the biggest matchup looks like Sadiqa, just like Sadiqa just said, our O-line would be much better, I believe. And our first storyline, it sounds like Tyron Smith was a full participant in a short week of practice, which is a very good sign considering it was a short week. So it looks like we're going to have our full starting lineup this week. So excited about that. We definitely need it this week because once we get to our key matchups, the Raiders bring some heat on the edges. And both of these guys are interchangeable, and we definitely need our tackles to be as productive as possible. So it's good that we're going to get back Tyron Smith this week. I went back and watched the game, and I know I said I wouldn't talk about this. And just like Sadiqa said, I left last week's game behind as soon as it was over. I'm just like you. And Jack Meeker, we're about to talk about this one in a minute. But I did go back and watch the game because I'm just that type of person. I went back and watched it 3 times. I watch it live, then I record it and watch the replay. I make my notes off the replay, and then I go back and watch the all 22 to kind of confirm what my notes showed me from the live game. And I know people are gonna disagree with me on this. Conor Mcgovern didn't have an awful game. I would give him a C plus B minus game. He was very good against the run. He got a lot of push the few times we did run the ball. Whenever Chris Jones was not in front of him, he actually blocked pretty well. And one thing that I really liked about McGovern that I noticed Connor Williams doesn't do, because McGovern got pushed back into the quarterback's face also, which is something we've always kind of harped on Connor Williams about having as a problem. It happened to him too. But one thing he does do that Connor Williams doesn't do, his awareness seems to be higher, where if he's doing a combo block on the left, he's aware of what's coming on the right, and he turns around and gets that chip to make sure that even though his side is turned on a double team, he's not leaving an open gap. He does it whether he's double teaming with the center on this side or he's double teaming with the tackle. And that's one of those things that fans normally won't catch in a live game. You have to kind of go back and watch it. When a guy's blocking like this and he turns and gets that little push on a guy that may be trying to creep in from the backside, those are very key points in getting that quarterback an extra second in the pocket. And just like Sadiqa said, he's more alert. That's one of the things that I noticed about Connor Williams that he doesn't really do. When he's on a guy, he's usually on him. And he has a tendency to not kind of be aware of what's around him. And like I said, once again, he does that in pass protection and in run blocking because he's great at combo blocking and then going and getting that push on the linebacker that gives the running back another yard or two. Zeke, the few times he did run it to the left, he got a couple of extra yards because McGovern was able to get that little extra push on that safety or that linebacker trying to get into his gap. So I'm looking forward to seeing him this week with a second week against lesser quality defensive tackles and with Tyron Smith playing next to him. His combination blocks probably won't have to be as much with that tackle side, especially. So that's definitely something we need to look at. And the only negatives I really saw about Conor McGovern, again, Chris Jones was in the zone. I mean, we saw what he did to Zach Martin. Nobody could have blocked him on Sunday. I mean, the guy literally had 3.5 sacks. He got a sack on everybody except our left tackle, which is ridiculous in a game. He got a sack on McGovern. He got a half a sack on Biotish. He got a sack on Martin. He got a sack on Lyle Collins. That never happens in a game where a guy gets a sack on 4 different offensive linemen. Normally, they find a guy and pick on him, similar to what happened with Atlanta a couple years ago. Chris Jones actually went across the line of scrimmage and gave everybody their work. So I know people want to be hard on Conor McGovern, but this was just one of those games. Chris Jones was just in the zone. And Frank Clark helped him out quite a bit by helping him isolate whenever he went inside. And Jack Meeker saying McGovern's the more athletic of the two, or just powerful versus Williams. It's probably both, Meeker, honestly. McGovern, I mean, even if you watch, like Mendoza said, Connor Williams got some fullback snaps in the game. It wasn't the same level of snaps that McGovern gave us, just from the sheer athleticism and the ability to get those blocks. I think McGovern is a more athletic guy, and he's definitely a stronger guy, and I think it stood out. And the lunatic asking a good question: should the switch at left guard have been made versus Atlanta and their D-line? Again, if I would say yes, definitely, if they gave him practice with the first team prior to the game. You never want to just throw a guy out there and only have one or two practices and say, okay, now you're going into a game where the bullets are coming and you got to pick up blitzes and you got to understand the protection calls that the center's making. That's the stuff that us as fans don't think about. But when a quarterback calls a play in a huddle, the offensive lineman is getting just as much from that play as the wide receivers are. Most people normally hear a play call and think, okay, that's telling the wide receivers what route to run. No, it's telling the linemen how they need to step, which gap they cover, do they double team or do they ISO? And then you have to read when you get to the line of scrimmage and change your protections based off that. So it's very difficult to just throw a guy in a game without some extended practice. So yeah, like Raphael said, he'll definitely be better now that Tyron is back. And great questions, guys. Great questions. Get great comments. You guys are already bringing it early. We haven't even gotten to our content for the night, and you guys are already bringing the heat. And Shane Odom, thank you for joining. You said Dak is our leader. He needs to start getting ripping into his O-line. Dak needs to get them fired up. We need an emotional leader. I'm the type of person, and some people are like that, Shane Odom, so I can't disagree with you on that. I guess it's just preference. But for me, I'm the type of person, I feel like these guys are professionals. They have their jobs on the line. They have money on the line. Some people respond to that. Some people don't. And honestly, the offensive line, and I say this all the time, offensive line is a different animal. You can't treat them like you would a receiver or a running back or a defensive player. These guys are a unit. I don't think you have to get in their faces and tell them to block better because they hold each other accountable. It's really like a brotherhood. If one guy does bad, he really feels like he let the unit down. And that's usually all the motivation they need to kind of step up. I don't think you can just single out a guy on the offensive line like you can in any other position. All right, so we talked about Tyron Smith coming back, and we also got some news about CeeDee Lamb, which is very interesting considering we're only, 3 days removed from him having a concussion and getting put out of the game. And this is going back to Jack Meeker's comments. And Tavis Bank, I saw your comment above as well. I'll get to that in a second. So, CeeDee Lamb, this one is going to be interesting because it's literally going to be a game time decision. So I went back and I kind of researched what's going on. What do you mean by excuse you, Bluff City Cowboys? I must have missed something. So, and Sadiqa, let me know what you mean in the comments and I'll come back to it. So Jack Meeker talking about CeeDee Lamb. This one is interesting. When you look at the concussion protocol, normally it takes a week to get through it. And CeeDee Lamb is flying through it because it's a 5-step process on what determines a player can play in a game. The first step is they have to get a good night's rest and they can only do light stretching. That normally takes a day or two. CeeDee Lamb was already clear from that by the end of the game. The second step is they can do some aerobic work on the bike or doing sprints. And then they can also do some more intense stretching. And that's monitored by sorry about that, Sadiqa. I didn't know I coughed. I was in the zone. I must have missed. Let me get some water. So the second step, they can do stretching and running under the guidance of a medical professional who kind of monitors them, make sure they don't get woozy or overexhausted. And again, CeeDee Lamb was doing this on Monday. This is usually day 3 stuff. The third step is they can do position drills. They can't participate in practice, but they can run routes, catch balls, and stuff like that on the sideline. And again, we're at day 3. Lamb was at that point yesterday. So then we get to the fourth step, which Lamb cleared today. And the fourth step is participating in practice. Normally what stops guys from playing in a game is they don't get to this step until Friday, and then there's no practice. So it's difficult for the training staff to really clear them. So the training staff cleared him. He got a full practice in today with no setbacks. So now we're in the 5th step of the concussion protocol. And that's when the league flies in an independent doctor. He's not affiliated with any team or the NFL. He comes in, he talks with the trainer, talks about the progress of the player. He does his own baseline test, and then it's his final determination whether or not the player can play. So that's where we are right now. And we have up until 90 minutes before the game for that independent doctor to do this baseline test and make a determination. So the fact that CeeDee Lamb practiced today, a full participant, that is a really good sign because that means he's completely cleared by our coaching staff. But like Sadiqa said, we still got to wait for step 5 for that independent doctor to come in and clear him. So I know people are kind of getting their hopes up because he had a full practice, and that's a great thing. But we still got that 5th step, and it's completely out of our team's hands. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. Definitely got to watch social media, got to watch the news, make sure we find out what happens. It looks good right now, but no matter how good he looks in practice, it all comes down to that independent party. So we definitely got to see what happens. And like the lunatic said, he got the green light from the team, but that independent doctor could come in and it could be a completely different story. So I'm interested to see what happens. Either way, I think we got a great shot at this game. So I'm looking forward to seeing what happens with our other receivers. And when we talk about these key matchups, we'll definitely get into that. The lunatic asked the question, drop starting to worry you? Seems like we have some in inopportune situations. The lunatic, drops are worrying me a lot. And not only are the drops worrying me, it's when they happen. Because I went back and watched Denver game, of course, and I watched last week's game. All our drops came in key moments. Like I made some notes. It was 3rd and 10. And Cedric Wilson Michael Gallup had a drop. Then it was 3rd and 19. Cedric Wilson had a wide open catch, just completely dropped it. Then 2nd and 5. Noah Brown dropped the first down. The next play, they did one of the many screen passes they did. Cedric Wilson missed a block. We punt. We got inside the 30-yard line 4 times in that game. 2 of those times, the drive was halted because of a penalty. But one of them could have got picked up, but it was dropped. The 3rd time was a drop. The 4th time it was an interception. So the drops do worry me. And what worries me even more is those drops are coming from our number 4 and number 5 receivers, Noah Brown and Cedric Wilson. And Tavis Banks, this is definitely what I'm leaning into. It's time to see more Malik Turner. And you guys know there's probably not a bigger Noah Brown fan than me. But Malik Turner is showing he's not afraid of the bright lights. He came in garbage time against Denver, got 2 touchdowns. He's come in several spots and made some key catches. He's a big physical guy. If Lamb can't play, I'm hoping we see more Turner, and also Turner. Noah Brown can play inside and outside too, But I think Turner is a little bit more suited to be an inside-outside guy, and I think he could stretch the field a little bit more. So, hopefully we definitely see him. And like you said, Dak is starting to get some chemistry with him as well. The lunatic, I think Stickum is illegal in the league right now. So unless you want to see these guys get kicked out the game or we have to forfeit, I don't think you want to see any Stickum. But definitely get on that Jugs team. The lunatic, I missed his comment saying Jerry got that independent neurologist. He probably giving some extra helpings. I don't know how that happens. I don't know. I couldn't find anything that says how the independent doctor is chosen or how they meet. But we got the best salesman in the world as our owner and GM. So if Jerry can get in his ear at all, I definitely wouldn't be concerned. And Mendoza, great point, saying Schultz was working on the Jugs machine. Need to take those receivers in there with him as well. Gonna be interesting tomorrow. I think the pressure got to him more than anything. I think if we have a game, which I think this one will be, where we have more control and it's not as a high pressure situation in terms of a close game, I think we see more from our receivers, and we'll talk about that more once we get into these key matchups. We're at 27 minutes. I want to squeeze in a few over-unders. I want to do game predictions. And for you guys who are joining us kind of late, we don't have Lambeau tonight, but Cowboy Dale did drop by and give us his game predictions. So there's going to be a video close to the end of the show with Cowboy Dale. Excuse me, Sadiqa. There's going to be a video with Cowboy Dale, and he's going to give us his game predictions. So make sure you guys stay tuned for that. Excuse me. See, now I'm aware of it, Sadiqa, thanks to you. So I'll be more mindful of it. Okay, so it looks like that's pretty much it in terms of storylines. Talked about Tyron, talked about Lamb. Lawrence has opened up his 21-day window. So that's a good sign. We may see him next week. It may be the week after, but he's in the pipeline. He's getting work in. So that's good that we know we're going to see Randy Gregory pretty soon. So now let's talk about this Raiders game. Got a lot of matchups to talk about. A lot of good matchups for us, honestly, and a couple of key ones that they may have in their advantage. So let's get into it, and let's talk about these key matchups in this week's game.
Key matchups.
All right, guys. So going into the key matchups, got a lot of them to talk about. And I think, and Sadiqa giving her early prediction, our scores are so close, it's ridiculous, Sadiqa. I'm right there with you. And we'll get to that once we get through these key matchups. So, guys, hang with me as we go through some of the key matchups in this game. All right. So, as you guys know, normally during a week, because I'm a nerd, I watch the Cowboys game 3 times, and then I go back and watch at least 3 games of the team we're going to play. So, for this week, I watched the last 4 games they played. Honestly, and Mendoza, you guys let me know which side of the ball you want to talk about first, and we'll get to that. And watching the games, and I've watched a couple of games earlier than week 8, this was a different game post Gruden getting fired and Ruggs and his whole situation. The team looked completely different in how they played. So we're going to talk about that. And Jack Meeker, this is a great point. Saw a lot more of Tristan Hill this game. Might be a nice surprise. I counted 3 pressures for Tristan Hill in this game. He was very active. He was actually rushing and then turning around and chasing the play from behind, which that's funny because that's what Marinelli's known for. But when Marinelli was here, the guy who brought him here, he wasn't doing that. But now he's actually going through his rush, watching the ball, turning around and catching the play from behind. I don't know if that's coaching or if that's just feeling the flames under his feet, knowing that he's on the hot seat and he could be gone any minute, but definitely had a much better game this week. And it showed in the amount of snaps that he got because he was almost even with Carlos Watkins. All right, so we got Govan and Mendoza. So I don't normally put our players up here. I put the other team's players, and then I talk about how the matchups will go. So I know we said we'll do offense first, but I got to start at the top because this one kind of dictates how we'll play. And I talked about this a little bit last week with the Chiefs. But the best matchup is going to be coach versus coach. So as you guys know, John Gruden got fired. They have 4 former head coaches on their coaching staff. They got Tom Cable, the offensive line coach. They got Gus Bradley, the defensive coordinator. They got Rod Marinelli, the defensive line coach. And then there's another coach. I forget who it is. I believe it's the quarterback's coach. The Raiders named their special teams coach their interim head coach. And to be honest, it shows in the gameplay because they're inconsistent in what they do. They seem to kind of do something and stick with it, and they don't make adjustments. And that's a beautiful thing for our offense because when our offense is at its best, it's when Dak can go to the line of scrimmage, he can see what they do, and he can make adjustments off of it. Last week, when we played against Spagnuolo pretty much brought a bunch of guys to the line like Spagnuolo does, and then he shot guys back. Now, Dak was doing a good job of reading, but their defensive line was just in another zone. And Tavis Banks says Gus Bradley is going to all-out blitz. Let's talk about this for a minute, Tavis, because when I watched the 4 games that I watched, this team ran as vanilla a cover 3 as you could expect. Like when all of the podcasters spent the entire offseason talking about the cover 3 and what we expected our defensive coordinator, Dan Quinn, to do. Obviously, he didn't do any of that. We're running more of a man scheme. Gus Bradley, for the past 4 weeks, they've done cover 3. The corners play at the line. They run a press and bail with the outside technique, and they funnel everything to the free safety. I mean, every single snap that they ran outside of like a 3rd and long or a goal line play was cover 3, press and bail, outside technique. They did not rush the linebackers. They just kept switching their defensive ends and letting them rush. Now, Tav, as you said, Kansas City's defense is vanilla too. Kansas City's defense is vanilla but it's in the fact that they bring more rushers. Spagnuolo loves to play press. The Raiders don't press at all. Like they play at the line, but it's a bail technique, and they open up and they funnel to the free safety. And Sadiqa, you're definitely right about that one. So I think Dak is going to have a better game. For one, because the corners are going to give us more looks. They're not going to really press at the line, more because they don't have the talent. And 2, they don't have the defensive linemen that the Chiefs have. So it's going to be interesting. So I talked about Gus Bradley, and then we talk about Greg Olsen, the offensive coordinator. They've just abandoned the run. Like, it's ridiculous. The last 4 weeks, and Tavis, their defense is extremely suspect, and we're about to get into that in a minute. But talking about Greg Olsen, the past 4 weeks, whether good, up or down, good or bad, the Raiders have passed the ball about 68 to 70% of the time. And that's unusual based off of the offensive line they have and the fact that they have Tom Cable, who's known as like a run game guru. And they have a big physical. They have 2 very talented zone running backs in Josh Jacobs and Kenyon Drake, where Kenyon Drake, the first probably weeks 3 to 7, he was getting 5-6 yards a clip. I know Tavis Banks made a point about that early in the show, talking about Tavis talking about Kenyon Drake. And Tavis, I'm sorry, there's so many comments I can't go back and find it. Excuse me. But from weeks 3 to 7, Kenyon Drake was just gashing 5-6 yards at a time. And the past 4 weeks, Kenyon Drake gets 4 rushes a game. Josh Jacobs at one point was averaging 12, 14, 15 rushes a game. He's down to 9 and 10 the last 4 weeks. And these weren't blowout games. They were in 2 of these games. It was only the Chiefs game and the Bengals game that they were behind. And the Bengals game, they actually weren't behind early. It wasn't like the Chiefs game where they were just it was over with before it started. And Tavis, you're right about this one. We can go ahead and talk about this now. And Raphael, just like you said, watch the Raiders try to come out and establish the run against us. That's probably what's going to happen. All right, but let's get into it. You guys said you want to talk about our offense first. So we'll start on the front level and go to the back end. So like I said before, talking about the Raiders. Now, their defensive tackles are Quentin Jefferson, Solomon Thomas, and Jonathan Hankins. These are 2 big guys. We all know Jonathan Hankins' name because he was a guy that we all liked and wanted to see in Dallas. But when you watch those guys play, they're really just names. Jonathan Hankins he looks like he's turning into Dontari Poe 2019 when I watch him play. Like, if you guys remember me talking about Dontari Poe, 2020, the Frankenstein, where he just stands up, shuffles, and then just gets turned. That's Jonathan Hankins right now at this point in his career, especially on a double team. He has no ability to hold the point of attack. Quentin Jefferson, he's solid, but he's about 285. He doesn't have that same dog like Osa has. So he tries. He's a try-hard guy, but he just doesn't have it in the run game. So I'm expecting to see a lot of running on the interior, especially if you guys remember what I talked about early in the show with Conor Mcgovern. Conor McGovern is great at combo blocks and then getting off that block and going to the second level. This game is yeah, you're right, Tavis. 2.8, yeah. Jonathan Hankins is not Jonathan Hankins we remember from the Giants. Those days are long gone. But McGovern and his ability to help double team on a guy like Hankins and then get off and get to the second level are going to be huge this game. They provide nothing in terms of pass rush, like nothing. Dak should have a clean inside pocket if he wants it. And the Raiders don't blitz. They run straight cover 3. Curl flat, middle hook with their linebackers. They don't even get at the line of scrimmage. They start off 3-4 yards off and go into their sets. So I'm expecting a good running game because of that. But in the passing game, this is where it's going to get interesting. And like Mendoza says, Collins is going to have to be on point this game. Their 3 defensive ends, like Tavis said, all three of them are going to be a nuisance. Max Crosby, Yannick Ngakoue, Carl Nassib. All three of these guys are like 6'7", 265, 270, long arms, and all three of them are extremely high motor. Max Crosby, I didn't know he was the athlete that he's been showing to be on film this year. I've heard his story before about the drug use and the alcohol use. Now that he's gotten that cleaned up, it looks like he's a completely different player than I remember from 3 or 4 years ago. Max Crosby has game takeover ability from the defensive end spot. And Max Crosby has 7 sacks, and Ngakoue has 7 sacks. Nassib has like 4 sacks. So these guys are relentless. They're getting to the quarterbacks. Collins is going to have to be on his game. Tyron's going to have to be on his game as well, because this is going to be one of those games where you don't get an easy rep as a tackle. And these guys switch sides a lot. Luckily for us, they never go inside. They're strictly outside defensive ends. Carl Nassib on obvious rushing or obvious passing downs, they may bring him in as a 3-tech, but he doesn't have the strength to play inside. He's more of just a pure pass rusher, so we don't have to worry about that much. But the top 2 guys, with Nassib giving them breathers, our tackles have to be ready. This is probably the best defensive end group we'll face all year. And that's saying a lot considering the level of defensive ends we played last week with the Chiefs. You had the Chargers with Bosa. You had the Bucks with their defensive ends. This is probably the one that's going to be the most competitive for our defensive end. So I'm glad if you consider McGovern the starter, this will be the first time we have all 5 starters in the game, because our tackles are going to be isolated a lot. So I'm looking forward to that. In the run game, Max Crosby is actually just as good against the run as against the pass. So you're going to have to try to avoid him. Yannick Ngakoue is Robert Quinn. He's straight pass rushing. It's straight speed to the outside. If you give him the inside, he'll take it. But he wants to loop around. He wants to run that circle and catch the quarterback from the backside. So if there's any chance to have some opportunities to run on the edges, like the lunatic brought up earlier in the show, find Ngakoue, 91, and just run at him and hope you can slow his pass rush down. Going to be very interesting. All right. So I think both of our running backs should have a pretty good game this week. All right, guys. So I see the comments are starting to dry out. Let me know if you have any questions or comments in the comments. And Tavis, yeah, Pollard time. This will be a great Pollard game, actually, Tavis. Especially when I get to the second level, because the second level is their linebackers. They have a very underrated linebacker group. Denzel Perriman. Denzel Perriman may be the best run stopping linebacker in football right now. This dude makes every tackle. What are we at, week 12? I think he has 118 tackles. So he's averaging 9-10 tackles a game for the Raiders. And remember, this is a team that does not play their linebackers close to the line of scrimmage. Their middle linebacker straight curl, middle hook. And this dude is coming up making tackles nonstop. He's a short guy. Normally, length kills him. But Denzel Perriman is just such a savvy veteran. Like you said, Tavis, you said this at the beginning of the show. Definitely an underrated linebacker. Where length normally kills a guy like this, he's so smart. He understands angles and he understands how to avoid linemen. And he just makes tackles. Unfortunately, he doesn't have a lot of help. They barely play KJ Wright. I know we all know the name from Seattle. Legion of Boom. He's a shell of himself. KJ Wright is probably playing, I don't know, 15, 20% of the snaps. They play him like a straight Sam linebacker, like we all kind of wish Jalen would be played. You bring him in on first down if they kind of run it heavy, and then you take him off the field. So we don't see KJ Wright much. Corey Littleton. Corey Littleton is an athletic linebacker. He's not, from what I've seen, and I don't call myself an expert or anything, but he doesn't look that good against the run. He looks like the type of linebacker that kind of sits, waits for the play to come to him, and then kind of wraps up from the side. He's not a real get his nose in the hole and wreak havoc. So if we can find a way to get Perriman blocked, which is almost impossible because nobody's been able to do it yet, we're gonna gash them. If we ever get Perriman blocked and there's a run towards the Zach Martin, Lyle Collins side, expect some big runs in this game. So definitely. And it's like Sadiqa said, KJ's not all that to me. Well, Sadiqa, you know, when people hear a name that they recognize, they always factor in that he's the same guy he was 7 years ago. KJ Wright is just an aging veteran at this point, just trying to hold on to a job. Hopefully this is not the game where he taps in and makes a key play just because he's a smart veteran. I don't think so because they don't play him a lot, but it's just something to be aware of. And Tavis said he was suspect when he was with the Rams. Yeah, you're right. That's one of the reasons he's with the Raiders now. And I assume you're talking about Corey Littleton when he was with the Rams. But yeah, outside of Denzel Perriman, there's not a lot of matchups we need to be concerned about. Perriman is a smart linebacker when it comes to run. He can be taken advantage of in the passing game a little bit. So you can expect, if we run some seam route plays with our tight ends, expect to see Dalton Schultz get open on those. So two things to look for: that seam route and running to the right, if we can get Perriman blocked in this game. And Sadiqa Charles saying, is that KJ Wright that came to Dallas for a cup of coffee? Yep, that's the same KJ Wright from Seattle who was here briefly. And what was this, 4 years ago? And people were saying we should have signed him back. He's with the Raiders now, playing 15% of the snaps as their Sam linebacker. When in actuality, their real Sam linebacker is in the secondary. And we'll go to the secondary now. We're at 50 minutes, so we're making good time. We go to the secondary, and this is the real Sam linebacker. Because I could just put Sam linebacker by Jonathan Abrams' name. They play him almost exclusively like their third linebacker. He's never more than 5 yards off the ball. He's always playing a press against the tight end or playing outside contain. Basically, a cover three strong safety. Just like I said. So Abram is somebody you got to be aware of in the pocket, inside the hashes. But he runs himself out of plays from what I noticed. He's a very aggressive player, and he really puts his linebackers and his free safety in bad situations. Raphael, just like you said, you target him in the passing game. Like I said, if you get a chance to run some seam routes with Dalton Schultz and you got him and Abram together, throw it. I think the pass rating against Abram is like 125 this year. He does not stop anything. So I see we got Sadiqa saying Malik will handle him, definitely. And you talk about their corners. Strong safety, I could just put linebacker by his name. That's really how he plays. Now, again, like I said, they play a straight cover 3. So Trayvon Mayrig, another name Cowboy fans will remember because we wanted him in Dallas. He's actually playing free safety. He's playing deep middle. He's never within 15 yards of the line of scrimmage. He's actually playing a lot better than I expected him to. I did not see him playing free safety. He's doing a solid job from the 4 games I'm watching in terms of not letting anybody get past him. He's not making a lot of plays on the ball, but he's doing his job, which is about what you can ask for a rookie free safety. So then we go to the cornerback position, and Mendoza says they have Desmond Trufant. That's true. They don't really play Desmond Trufant that much, though. They really like the 3 corners that they have. Like, they really like them. And somebody brought up Divine Diablo, another linebacker that was a converted safety. So talking about offense, the cornerback position, Brandon, I never can pronounce his last name. This kid is having a really solid season for the team. He's really good in his his technique. He does a good job of not letting the receivers get behind him. And he does a pretty good job of playing the ball as well, which is surprising. I didn't expect to see him play as good as he did on tape. Considering he's been kind of a journeyman guy. He's a 6'2" guy. He's the longest corner. So they like to play him with the big receiver. So you probably expect to see him more on Michael Gallup if CeeDee Lamb doesn't play. And then they got Casey Hayward Jr., another name you guys should recognize, I believe, from the Steelers. They like to play him. They like to play him on the best corners. The best receivers. So they like to move him around a lot, even though he's like a 5'10" corner. He plays a lot outside for them. So if we have CeeDee Lamb in this game, you're going to see Casey Hayward kind of locked up on Lamb. He's not making a lot of plays. He just looks like a veteran corner who just has good technique and just knows how to play football. So there's abilities to make plays on him. He's just a solid guy. And then Tavis Banks said Nate Hobbs is sneaky. Nate Hobbs is definitely a sneaky player. I believe he's a rookie. Is he out of Illinois or Nate Hobbs? I'm almost certain he's out of Illinois. Let me know if I'm right or wrong on that, Tavis. I believe he was a 4th round pick this year. He was one of those guys I liked in terms of a slot guy. He has some size to him, but I think he's more of a slot. They actually play him inside and out quite a bit. If they decide to put Casey Hayward in the slot, they will bring him in on the outside. and that's one of the reasons, Mendoza, you brought up Desmond Trufant and Amik Robertson. Those guys don't play that much because Nate Hobbs is getting a lot of snaps. And Amik Robertson is tiny. He has that fight in him, but he's just an extremely small cornerback. And the few times that I saw him play, he got picked on often, especially in that Chargers game when I believe Trayvon Mullen and what's the other cornerback that's hurt right now? Trayvon Mullen and the one that got cut from the team. I can't think of his name now. But Mullen and the kid from Ohio State, I know he's from Ohio State, they both got hurt. They brought in Amik Robertson, and Allen and Williams just took turns abusing him. Ever since that game, he doesn't play a lot, but he's definitely a scrappy guy. And Trufant just can't get past Nate Hobbs, like plain and simple. There are plays that could be made on the secondary because, again, they run straight cover 3. Thank you, Damon Arnett, Ohio State 1st round pick. They run straight cover 3, and our defensive coordinator knows cover 3 better than anybody because he's a Gus Bradley disciple. So I'm pretty sure he's gave them a lot of tips in the tape room on how to beat it. And I think Kellen's a smart enough guy to know you kind of beat them behind the linebackers. So I'm really expecting a good game from the tight ends this week. Jonathan Abram can't cover. The linebackers aren't that good in coverage. They run cover 3, so that zone between the linebackers and the safeties is the soft spot. I'm expecting a lot of post routes, a lot of tight end plays, and seeing us go vertical. But I expect the run game to be really strong in how we dictate this game because of how bad their defensive tackles are. All right, guys, we're at 56 minutes. Let me go through their offense versus our defense real quick, and then we'll get to those game predictions. So, offense is going to be really quick. Like I said before, surprisingly, they pass the ball a lot, considering they have 2 very talented running backs. And we start up front. We start with the offensive line. And I look at this offense, and thank you for who we just liked. If you guys haven't done so already, make sure you like again. If you haven't subscribed already, because we got a lot of new faces, make sure you go to my YouTube and subscribe, Bluff City Cowboys. And also make sure you share to your favorite Dallas Cowboys Facebook group. So looking at their offensive line on tape, and remember, we played the Giants this year. This is probably the worst offensive line from tackle to tackle that we'll face all year. Colton Miller, former first-round pick out of UCLA, he's basically Connor Williams if he were to play left tackle. He can't handle power at all. Pretty good feet, but he can get pushed into the quarterback. Arms aren't as long as you want for a left tackle. I expect to see Micah Parsons do some abuse in this game. And then they also have Brandon Parker, who is another kind of journeyman guy at right tackle. Not really athletic. Just a guy, really. I think they just have to play him there because they don't want to move Leatherwood to right tackle because Leatherwood looks bad at guard and he'll look worse at tackle. You guys know Alex Leatherwood was a first-round pick, right? And they want him to play right tackle. They need him to play right tackle. He's not a good offensive lineman right now. They cannot put him at right tackle, so they have to stick him at right guard just to get him on the field. And to be honest, he's a below-average right guard. He's going to get abused. His balance seems to be off. He has long arms. He has decent strength, but excuse me, when he pass covers, his balance seems off. And with a guy like Osa, who's great at bull rushing and using leverage, I would be shocked if Leatherwood is not on his back at least 2 times during this game. It's going to be that bad. And then they have Andre James, another journeyman, young offensive lineman. I think he was drafted 2018, 2019. He may be the backup. I think the starter may actually be hurt. So Andre James, another young guy, not athletic at all, just kind of a big bully. So he could do some stuff in the run game, but again, the Raiders have been running the ball right at or less than 30% the last 4 games. John Simpson, former Clemson guy, so I know a lot about him. He wasn't good at Clemson. He's not very good in the pros. And then you got, like I said, Colton Miller, not a lot of strength. So you got bull rush capabilities. Long story short, How many sacks did Michael Parsons get last week? Was it 2? Because they took that third one away from him. Expect to see a repeat of what you saw last week. It may even be worse because they can literally put him on either side and he should dominate. And going back to last week's game, an interesting thing that I noticed last week that wasn't talked about on anybody's podcast, Doris Armstrong played a lot of defensive tackle last week. Yeah, Osa should definitely have a very good game inside. And I see your comments, Sadiq. I'll get to that in a second. Doris Armstrong, you can tell this offseason he put on some weight. He looks about 10 or 12 pounds heavier than he did last year. And they've been playing him inside a lot. You guys remember the big sack he had against Atlanta? Well, in last week's games against the Chiefs, I would probably guess he had about 10 or 11 snaps on the inside as a defensive tackle. And he was bringing some pretty good pressure. I counted 4 pressures from him. John Simpson is not a good guard. Alex Leatherwood is not a good guard. Him and Osa and even Tristan Hill, because he's pretty good in terms of rushing, they should have some good games. I know last week some people were saying they expect Osa to get a sack because they had those rookies in Kansas City. This week, I almost guarantee that Osa gets a sack. I'm expecting quite a few sacks from this game. All right. I didn't put the running backs in as a key matchup. And I know my guy Tavis is going to be disappointed in me for that. Tavis, I like their running backs a lot. Josh Jacobs is a great downhill runner. Kenyon Drake is a very explosive one-cut get-upfield runner. They just haven't shown me that will run the ball. In the past 4 weeks, Kenyon Drake is probably maxed out at 5 carries, and Jacobs at 11. They may change it this week, but if I'm going off what I've seen, since they've changed coordinators and since they've lost Ruggs as that deep threat that keeps the safety deep, they just refuse to run the ball. So I didn't really put running backs as a key matchup because they run the ball so much. But now we go to the other spot on the inside, and this is the matchup we have to worry about the most. And yeah, you won't find a bigger Doris Armstrong fan than me, Sadiqa. And people that know me for the past 3 years, before I even had a podcast, everybody's podcast, the first 2 things they were saying in the offseason, Doris Armstrong's going to get cut and Noah Brown's going to get cut. And I defended both of them on everybody's podcast, and they both stuck around. And Armstrong is a very underrated player. Inside and outside and special teams. But I could have just left all the other key matchups off because this is the one we worry about. Darren Waller. And guys, let me know in the comments, how do you think we cover Waller? Because Waller is a perfect mix of the last 2 tight ends we played. He's a big physical guy, like a Travis Kelce, but he's a former wide receiver, so he has that same athleticism like a Kyle Pitts. So let me know what you think in the comments. Do you play Waller like we did with Atlanta and you put your corners on him? Or do you play him like we did against the Chiefs where you just let Jaron Kearse kind of follow him around and cover him? Let me know what you guys think in the comments while I talk about the tight end position. Looking at the last 4 games, Derek Carr is terrified of holding the ball more than 3 seconds. Like for him, it's first read, second read, and the ball is going out of his hands. And his first read on every single pass is Darren Waller. No matter where they line him up at, no matter how many guys looks like covering them, no matter what the down and distance is. His first read is always Darren Waller. And they also love running this little read option play where they read the linebacker to see if he's going to follow the running back or is he going to stay deep and cover his zone. And probably 9 times out of 10, he's going to pull it back and throw it to Waller. So Darren Waller is a big part of their offense. Another guy who's starting to gain more snaps in their offense is Foster Moreau, their second tight end. Excuse me. Big tight end out of I don't know why I want to say UCLA. I might be thinking of Fabian Moreau, the former cornerback. Where's Foster Moreau from? It'll come to me at some point. But Foster Moreau, big tight end. Whenever they get inside the 30-yard line, they run 12 personnel exclusively. And neither one of these guys are blocking. They're both going out as receivers on routes. And Foster Moreau the past 4 weeks has gotten 3 touchdowns. So if they get inside the 30, we need to make sure we have an extra eye on Foster Moreau because he's been killing in the red zone for this team. So Sadiq is saying Lewis got him, Lewis or Diggs, and they might put AB on him. So Sadiq, you're of the mindset that, and Raphael, same thing. If Kelvin Joseph can play, put Trayvon on Waller. So you guys of the mindset we treat them like Kyle Pitts. And thank you, Raphael and Mendoza. Yeah, LSU. I was thinking of Fabian Moreau, the cornerback from UCLA. But yeah, you guys are the mindset we treat them like the Falcons did and just put a corner on them. And it's interesting you say that, Sadiqa, because when I watched this game, I saw the Falcons offense. It's the same offense that the Falcons run. They barely run the ball. They emphasize the tight end. And their receivers just run routes to get in a zone, and the quarterback tries to get it to them quickly. And the offensive line isn't that good. So I'm expecting a Falcons-like game this week in terms of our offense against their defense. So now we go to the last key position, and this is the receiver group. And this is the last spot we'll talk about. Then I'll get you guys game predictions. Their receivers, I have them listed at wide receiver 3, but I really could have put him at wide receiver 1, even though he plays in the slot. Now, I told you guys, David Carr has 2 reads. First read, second read, and he likes to get the ball out. His first read is always Darren Waller. His second read is always Hunter Renfrow. And Hunter Renfrow, Clemson guy, so I know a lot about him, is probably what we had in Cole Beasley. Lightning fast, lightning quick, insane route runner. He runs this inside, outside, inside route that I don't even know how an NFL player can guard. It's ridiculous. So this is a guy we have to keep our eye on. If there's any chance of us losing this game, it's going to be Hunter Renfrow. And he leads the team in targets. He gets about anywhere from 8 to 11 targets a game. So he's heavily involved in the offense. Darren Waller probably gets about 7 to 9 targets a game. Derek Carr is only throwing the ball about 35 times. So, yeah, he's probably throwing about half of his throws to Hunter Renfrow and Darren Waller. So, Jordan Lewis coming off a great game against Atlanta, had a solid game against the Chiefs. He gets his biggest test this week against Hunter Renfrow because not only is he a great route runner, the quarterback loves finding him. Now, again, like I said, Derek Carr has 2 reads. If those 2 reads aren't open, he just throws a Hail Mary up to Bryan Edwards. Like, Bryan Edwards is supposed to be the number 1 receiver. He gets 3 targets a game, 4 targets a game. And he's getting about 20 yards a catch. And the reason for that is because by the time he goes through his first 2 reads, If they're not open or the play breaks down, he just throws it up to Edwards because Edwards is 6'4", and he hopes for a miracle. And Edwards has been doing a good job in providing those miracles to him, especially in the fourth quarter when the game is close. So I say all that to say this. Again, this is going to be another Chiefs game. Derek Carr does not like to hold the ball. Our corners are going to have the chance to jump some routes early and often. And if they decide to put Diggs on Edwards because of the size, if they ever get to that third read and he throws it up to Edwards, Diggs is going to come down with it before Edwards does. So I said I guarantee Osa gets a sack this game. I guarantee Diggs gets an interception because he's either going to jump a quick route or he's going to win a 50-50 ball thrown up to a guy like a Brian Edwards. And Zay Jones is just there. Like, I don't even know why they don't run 12 personnel or 22 personnel and just take Zay Jones off the field. I guess it's only to make sure Renfro can stay in the slot. They have to put a receiver out there. And Sadiq is saying Diggs will get 2 takeaways. Wouldn't shock me if they're crazy enough to do it. Derek Carr is a very scared and conservative quarterback. So if he throws one interception at Diggs, I would be shocked if he went back Diggs' way again the rest of the game. So the second one will be hard for him to get, but Sadiq, I'm with you. I'd be highly surprised if he doesn't leave this game with 1 interception. So that's pretty much all I got for the key matchups. And guys, let me know if you have any questions or comments. And let's get those game predictions in also. Let me know if there's any other matchups you guys want to talk about. They do have a wide receiver 4, and that is Desean Jackson. So far, he hasn't touched the field, but playing against Dallas, you know they'll find a way to sneak him on the field. He's probably playing about 10 snaps a game. And once again, as I said, Mendoza puts it in the comments. But yeah, Desean Jackson normally plays about 10 snaps a game. Once again, Derek Carr does not like to take chances. He does not really like to throw it deep. So if they do throw it deep, it might catch us off guard if the team has done their homework. So you might see Desean Jackson make one big play just because the team wasn't expecting it. But other than that, he probably won't even touch the field this game. I think they're going to run heavy 12 personnel and keep Foster Moreau on the field as much as possible. Hey, Ralph Campos, thank you for joining us. Better late than never. I always appreciate you tuning in and seeing your name come across the screen. So we're right at the end. And Sadiqa said, yeah, he'll get put right back off the field. I agree. This is going to be a very good game Dallas's way. So now we're at an hour, 14 minutes. Thank you guys for sticking with us the whole time. Let's go ahead and let's do a couple of over-unders because we haven't done that yet. And I'm interested to see what you guys think about how this game will flow. So guys, let's do a couple of over-unders to get you guys interactive again and see what you think about some of the stuff that's going to take place in this game.
Over under.
All right, so for you guys that are new to the show, over under is something I like to do to kind of gauge the audience, get a feel for how you guys think the game will flow before we do these game predictions. So I just come up with a couple of scenarios off the top of my head just to see what you guys think. So we'll start with our defense first because we started that way with our key matchups talk. Over under 3 sacks for our defense. Over under 3 sacks for our defense. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. And Florida Cowboy, thank you for joining us. Definitely appreciate your support. If you haven't done so already on YouTube, Make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel. I'm Bluff City Cowboys. So, guys, over under 3 sacks in this game. All right, Raphael says over. Florida Cowboys says over. Yeah, Sadiq, I got yours already. You said over. Mendoza says over. All right, so I think everybody kind of agrees with me. This offensive line isn't that good. We're missing Gregory. We're missing Lawrence. But we got Micah. Armstrong stepping up. Osa's been kind of quiet. Expecting to get some good rush in this game. Ralph Capel says under. The way Derek Carr gets rid of the ball, I could see that. But I just really expect our defensive line to bring it. All right. Over under 1.5 turnovers for our defense. I'm almost certain we're going to get 1 turnover. But over under 1.5. Are we getting more than 1 turnover this game? Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Yeah, I'm personally leaning over on this one as well. I think this is going to be one of those games where we jump some routes. A replay of the Falcons game. Sadiq is saying way over. I'm with you on that one. Florida Cowboys says under. Mendoza calling his interception and a fumble. I could definitely see that as well because their tackles are not good. And Micah Parsons can get there quickly. And Derek Carr does not have the best pocket awareness. And he does not like to scramble outside the pocket. So if somebody gets a free shot, they're going to get a free shot because Carr's not avoiding them. And a lot of times he doesn't see it. All right, guys. So we talked about turnovers. We talked about sacks. Let's talk about Micah Parsons real quick because I brought his name up quite a bit. I'm interested to see what you guys think. So over under Micah Parsons, 40% of his snaps at defensive end. Over under Micah Parsons, defensive end. 40%. All right, Ralph Campbell saying over. Over. You know what? I shouldn't have even done that one because I forgot Micah Parsons played 99% of his snaps at defensive end last week, which is ridiculous. Over. Raphael says he'll break the sack record for the Cowboys this week. Over. I agree with you. I think he's going to get some free shots this week because those tackles are not good. So it's going to be interesting to watch. All right, let's go to the offensive side of the ball really quick before we get out of here. Now, I did this one last week and we were way under. Over under one of our running backs getting more than 60 yards rushing. Over under one of our running backs getting more than 60 yards rushing. Let me see what you guys think. Yeah, Micah definitely loves it. I hope they line him up against Brandon Parker the whole game. Because the beauty of this team, their tight ends can't block a lick. So you can't even help the tackles. They don't even have a tight end that's capable of blocking on the team. So even if they put a tight end over there, it's not even going to impede his pass rush. So a lot of people saying over. Raphael says hopefully over. I'm with you. All right, so let's do this one. We don't know whether or not CeeDee Lamb is playing. A lot of people are assuming he is because he is a full participant in practice. But like we mentioned before, It's all down to an independent doctor right now. So no matter how good he looks in practice, no matter how much he participates in practice, it all comes down to what an independent doctor says on whether or not he plays. So over under our number 2 receiver, not the number 1 receiver, number 2 receiver getting more than 50 yards receiving. And you guys can say if Lamb plays, which will make Gallup our number 2 receiver, is it over for Gallup? If Lamb doesn't play, this will be Cedric Wilson. Is it over under for Cedric Wilson? So over under Gallup or over under Wilson? Yeah, that line is definitely hungry. And I just love watching him play. This is his first Thanksgiving game. He grew up a Cowboys fan. So you know this game means a lot to him. Sitting down with his family for 20-something years, watching the Cowboys play on Thanksgiving night. He's a part of it. And then it sounds like he's got his whole family in town after the game for the celebration. So they're all going to be in the stands. So you know he's going to put on a show. I'm really looking forward to seeing Micah in this game. Raphael says under for Wilson. Mendoza says over for either. Mendoza, I'm in agreement with you on that one. Cedric Wilson, I think it was too big for him last week. And I talk about that. I talked about that quite a bit during the offseason. A lot of people kind of gave me slack for it. Cedric Wilson is a solid receiver, but he's a number 4 guy. He's not ready to be a full-time starter, in my opinion. And when you give him opportunities and he misses blocks and he drops balls, that kind of shows you he's not ready. But I think for this game, I think the team is underwhelming enough, and I think we'll be in control enough to where the pressure won't be as high on him, and he'll be able to be comfortable making big plays. So I'm with you. If Cedric Wilson, if CeeDee Lamb plays, Michael Gallup definitely has a good game. And he will have 2 touchdowns. Gallup 1, Cedric Wilson under. I can see that. I just have a feeling if Lamb doesn't play, I think Wilson will have a solid game. I think he'll probably hit about 60 or so. But I think Gallup, either way, is going to have a solid game because Gallup is a great cover 3 beater in the way he plays. The safety's not going to help on his side. The corner's going to give him a free release, and he can make a play on the 50-50 ball. So I'm looking forward to that. Now, this one is not an over-under, but I'm curious. And Shane Odom asked a question: do we believe that the Cowboys bought into the hype of KC? I don't expect it to happen tomorrow. I don't think they bought into the hype, but Kansas City is one of the toughest stadiums to go play in. That's first of all. Second of all, we just had a lot of injuries going into that game. We lost Tyron Smith. We lost Amari Cooper. Those are big losses to kind of overcome. And then we lost Cedric Wilson at halftime. Not Cedric Wilson. We lost CeeDee Lamb at halftime. I think it was just a lot to overcome. And the guys kind of sunk in the moment when they were called to step up. And the Chiefs kind of took advantage of it, especially being at home. All right, Todd, Corey, thank you for joining us. Appreciate you tuning in. We're about to get out of here in a minute, Todd, but thank you for watching. For you guys that are still here, we still got the Cowboy Dale game prediction. So let me ask this question, and then I'll do one more over-under, and then we'll go into everybody else's game prediction. So this was not an over-under. If CeeDee Lamb doesn't play, let me know in the comments how you think the wide receiver core will look. Is it going to be Wilson, Gallup, Brown, Wilson, Gallup, Turner, Do they activate Fehoko and try to give him some snaps? Let me know what you guys think about the wide receiver group if Lamb doesn't play. Do they put Noah Brown outside and put Wilson inside? What do they do with Malik Turner? Let me know what you think. It could go a lot of different ways, and we just don't know. And Todd Corey, we kind of talked about this earlier in the show. Chris Jones was just in a zone, and that was a anomaly how great he played. So Raphael says Malik Turner, Michael Gallup, and Cedric Wilson. Todd Corey says Turner snaps will increase. Sadiqa says Gallup, Wilson, Brown. Mendoza says Wilson, Gallup, and Noah with Malik getting some snaps. I could definitely see that. Yes, Sadiqa. Malik's still around. He's getting snaps, but I like Noah Brown. The team seems to really like Noah Brown. As a Noah Brown fan, I think I would rather see Turner out there, honestly. Ralph says Gallup, Wilson, Brown. Florida Cowboy says Gallup, Wilson, Turner. I'm going to pay close attention to the snap count, especially if CeeDee Lamb doesn't play, to see how many snaps Turner gets and how productive he is in those snaps. Because so far in the past 4 games, the limited snaps he's gotten, he's taking full advantage of them. So it's definitely going to be something to pay attention to. All right, guys. Last over-under. We talked about the tight end position, and I talked about them running straight cover 3 and how important the tight end can be in a cover 3 defense, running those seams, getting behind the linebackers, and also how bad Jonathan Abrams is in pass coverage. So Dalton Schultz got his usual 6 receptions that he kind of started the season off getting every week. Over under 4 receptions for Dalton Schultz this week. And with CD, without CD. Over under 4 receptions with CD, without CD. Let me know what you guys think, and then we'll get into these game predictions. Okay. Raphael and Mendoza both saying over. Florida. Okay, everybody thinks he's going to go over 4 catches. So they think he's going to get his usual workload of 6, like he normally does. Mendoza says over for both. I agree for sure. As bad as Jonathan Abrams looks in coverage, I expect him to get picked on a lot if Dak wants to get some easy receptions. Watching last week's game, Dalton Schultz was open often. Dak just didn't have that 1 extra second he needed for Schultz to break on his routes. Dalton Schultz probably could have had about 11 catches last week if Dak would have had an extra second to throw the ball. He was uncoverable by the Chiefs linebackers. Todd Corey says over without CD, under if Lamb plays. Sadiqa says over. All right, guys. So a couple of you guys have given us your game predictions. I see the views are starting to go back up a little bit. Yeah, I like Schultz a lot too, Sadiqa. So I see we got quite a few viewers who just kind of joined in. We're at the end of the show, but I want all of you guys to get involved right now. Give me your game predictions in the comments on what you think the score will be. And while you guys do that, yeah, Todd Corey, I talked about Pollard. They run straight cover 3. So the weakness in that running is up the middle and also kind of on the edges. Jonathan Abrams not good in coverage. So Pollard could have a good game. I didn't even talk about this, though. Zeke's dealing with that injury on a short week. Now, he says he's good to go, but you never know what happens on game day. He could get in the game. He could kind of tighten up a little bit. short week, early game, kind of having a little bit too much fun with the family in town before the game. So Pollard might get some extended snaps this game that we don't expect. So you just definitely don't know. But we got game predictions now, and I was able to catch up with Cowboy Dale while he's getting his Thanksgiving ready tomorrow. And he tuned in and gave us his game predictions. So, guys, enjoy this video from Cowboy Dale. And while you enjoy it, put your game predictions in the comments so I can write them down. Oh, crap. I put the wrong video up. Give me 1 second, guys, while I put in the updated video. That was the short version. All right, guys, bear with me for a minute while I make this Cowboy Dale video and get that uploaded. But in the meantime, we'll go through your comments for your game predictions. And I saw while I was playing that video, Shane Odom asked the question over or under on how many times I go back for seconds and thirds. It's Thanksgiving. That's always going to be an over. I don't think you can put the number high enough that'll cover how many times I'm going back. All right, guys, give me about 2 minutes. I got to re-upload this Cowboy Dale video, and then I'll play the Thanksgiving video. So let's go through the game predictions really quick. So we got Raphael 42-17. Cowboys win big. Sadiqa, you put your score up a couple times. Make sure I got it. You say 38-17. I see a lot of people put 17 in their score. And Ralph Campo says 24-17. So a lot of guys don't see the Raiders scoring more than 2 touchdowns. Make sure I got the right video this time. Okay. All right, and then we got Mendoza calling a close game with 27-23. So, guys, Todd Corey calling 30-22. Another semi-close game. And Sadiqa saying Zeke at least 100 yards and TP the same. So you're expecting them to just blow them out. For some reason, it only goes 35 seconds, guys. Give me 1 second. Got to figure this out. This is a good video. I want you guys to see it. And I got Jack Mika 31-24. Dallas. Yeah, and I did see that, Sadiqa, where Micah gave the whole team the invitation to come to his house. He said his mom cooks enough for 100 people. So you guys are welcome to join. That's one of those things about Micah Parsons that kind of go under the radar with how much of a team guy he is, and just stuff like that just adds on to what he provides to this team. All right, guys, give me a minute. I still got to get this video to play. giving me technical difficulties right now. Sadiqa said if I was in Dallas, I'd be going to Micah's house too. I'll probably try to get an invite as well. He really seems like a great kid. I'm so glad that we got him on this team. And Todd Corey saying he thinks it's 30-24 or so. Raiders get a last-minute score with 2-point conversion. Dallas final score 30-22. So I think that's pretty much all of the scores we got. If you guys haven't done so already, make sure you get in the comments and let me know what you think the score will be in this game. I'm with Sadiqa. I think it's like 38-17 also. I just feel like we're gonna jump on this team early. Another game where the team kind of feel like they got embarrassed on national TV and they got to come out and prove a point. A lot of guys on defense, this is their first Cowboys Thanksgiving game. So they're going to come out a little bit angry. The offensive line is going to be at 100%. If Conor McGovern's the best guard, this is going to be the first time we have our best 5 linemen on the field. I know best 5 has been kind of a key word thrown out for the past couple of weeks, but this is going to be our first time having the best 5 offensive linemen. They run a vanilla cover 3 scheme. So Dak should just have a field day picking on a rookie free safety. Got to emphasize that. He's a rookie free safety playing deep middle. So Dak should be able to call some stuff at the line to kind of shift him around, use his head, use his eyes to kind of get him out of position. Should be a lot of deep plays. So I'm expecting this to be explosive offensive game where we have a lot of 8 to 12 yard plays running and passing on the defensive side of the ball. I talked about the offensive line. It's not very good. They don't have one spot where they can kind of hang their hat on and say, this is a great offensive lineman. I know a lot of our fans are concerned because we don't have Gregory and Lawrence, but we got Micah, who's explosive. And Basham, I didn't even talk about Basham. Basham was very good at pass rushing last week. His only problem was he had some Yannick Ngakoue in him, and he got a little bit too excited in his pass rush, and he allowed Patrick Mahomes to break contain one too many times and make some throws. Like if you guys go back and watch the game, you will see the few plays that Mahomes made out of the pocket. It was because Basham had kind of broke contain and he allowed Mahomes to kind of sneak up and make some throws. And I almost got the video, guys, so just bear with me for another minute. But yeah, I'm expecting a good game all around. Sadiqa saying it could be another 40 burger or 40 turkey. It could be. It's going to be close. Yeah, Todd. I'm excited for the O-line this game too. Like we just said, we talk about best 5. This is the best 5 scenario I've been wanting. So hopefully McGovern was able to work out some of his kinks. He gets to play with a great left tackle. Defensive tackles for the other team aren't very good. So I'm expecting to see a good game. Shane Odom says we need a blowout on Thanksgiving. Last couple of Thanksgivings have been let downs. Yeah, my turkey does go down a little bit better when the Cowboys are up 20 points in the game. Makes it a lot easier to go back for that second or third play too, Shane Odom. Or start on that fourth one because I'm an over type of guy. Ralph Campos, great stat. Didn't even think about this. We've lost the last 3 Thanksgiving games. That's a stat I didn't even think about. So we definitely need this one more than anything. All right, guys. So I got my video ready now. So if you can bear with me, we'll get the Cowboy Dale game prediction video up, and then we'll close this thing out. So thank you guys for tuning in. Once again, I appreciate you guys' support. Another great episode. Be sure to stick with us next Wednesday. Hopefully I can get Lambo back. He's in the process of selling his home, so he's doing a lot of major repairs and stuff like that. So he's really occupied with trying to do that. If you guys know how great the housing market is for sellers right now, you would understand why he's dedicating all of his time into getting as much money as possible. So hopefully he says his house goes on the market in the next 2 to 3 weeks. So once he finishes all his repairs up, we'll probably get Lambo back. But until then, I'll be here doing key matchups, storylines, breaking down the game, taking all the great questions and comments that you guys have coming, and we'll just keep rolling along. I'll try to get a couple of guests in as the season progresses even more. So now, like I said, we don't have Lambo, but we got Cowboy Dale, and he's going to give us his game prediction for this week's game.
It's Thanksgiving, man. And I'll tell you what, we're going to beat the stuffing out of the Raiders, man. Woo. Oh, shit. I got to keep this stovetop for later. Man, look, all I know is, man, is we're going to open up a can of whoop ass on those Raiders, man. Ow! Last time I let my wife choose the beer. They ain't got nobody. They ain't got nobody that's gonna stop us, man. Even without Amari, we're gonna win. And we're gonna win handily. Look, who y'all got? Darren Waller? Shit, I've seen better tight ends down in the holler. For real though, Stacy down on lot 4 on Rocky Holler. Look, man, Raiders, tomatoes, F the haters. Hey, see you laters. Cowboys by 20, man. That's how Cowboy Dale does it. Ow!
All right, well, that was Cowboy Dale giving us his game prediction. He didn't say his score on his video, but he came back and told me that he has it 37-17 Dallas Cowboys, 37-17. So everybody was in on that 17 score. You guys don't think the Raiders are going to score more than 17 points, including myself. And we all were in that 30 range. So it's definitely going to be a great game. Like I said before, it's always better. Your food tastes better. The game looks better. Have a better time with your family when the Cowboys are winning. So expect a big win from the Dallas Cowboys tomorrow. You guys all agree with me. And we're at 1 hour 44 minutes. That's pretty much all we got for the Cowboys Zone today. Great video by Cowboy Dale. I'm sure Lambo's going to post that all over social media later tonight or tomorrow morning. So if you want your friends to see it, you can either share this video or you can check our social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and you can share the video there. And once again, you can find me on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram at Bluff City Cowboys. Got it at the bottom of the screen right here. And you can find me on Twitter at Bluff Cowboys. And we're not doing our show this week, Keeping Up with the Joneses, but we will be back next week with Dallas Cowboys Uncensored with Charlie and Rika. And in the meantime, you guys can catch me next Wednesday, 8:30 Central Standard Time, for what I will already proclaim as a Victory Wednesday, where we'll talk about how the Dallas Cowboys put this beat down on the Las Vegas Raiders. And we'll talk more Cowboys news and notes as we get ready for next Thursday's game. So, once again, I'm Marcus, Bluff City Cowboys. Thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate all your continued support. Thank you for your likes. Thank you for your shares. And more importantly, thank you for your comments, because you guys fuel the Cowboy Zone. If not for you guys, there would be no me. And I love you guys for it. Have a happy Thanksgiving and go Cowboys. I'll see you guys later. Enjoy your day, enjoy your family, and enjoy some good Cowboys football. I'm out.